Hello and welcome to our third video in our Testing Tuesdays video series. Last week we talked all about exploratory testing and the 4 principles of exploratory testing. So if you haven't seen that video, I'd recommend go back and watching that. There'll be a link in the description. This week we're talking all about DevOps and what is DevOps and actually what that can mean for testing. So if you don't know what DevOps is the latest buzzword that's going around. And it's actually a combination of 2 words, which is development and deployment, that have been thrown together for DevOps. So what that means is if we look at more of a traditional handoff, you have your deployment team over here and you have your operations team over here, and they're very siloed. There's not a lot of collaboration, not a lot of coherence between the 2 teams. So what's going to happen is development are going to package the software. It's been coded, it's been tested, and they're going to sort of throw it over this wall, this barrier between the 2 teams into operations. And operations are going to plan the release and plan the deploy. But if there's any problems and there needs to be feedback back to the development team, then they have to throw that back over the wall. And this process can take days, it can take weeks, and it's very slow. So the idea of DevOps over here is actually we're going to bring those 2 teams closer together, and we have more of this sort of infinity feedback loop. So you've still got development over here, you've still got operations over here, but actually it's very much a continuous cycle, and the 2 teams are going to talk a lot more. And what that means is actually when we're ready to deploy, both teams are going to be happy with that, and it's more like a push button. We can push that and say, yeah, we're ready to go, and push that to production. So where testing fits into this is you're going to want to bring testing earlier into your development. You're going to code a smaller chunk of software and test it early, and that then really leads into more of the principles of TDD and BDD. So BDD, which is behavior driven development, we touched on that in our first episode, so please go back and watch that. And if you did, you'd know that actually BDD itself isn't testing. It can lead to testing, but it's about bringing everyone in the teams closer together earlier in the requirement stage. And that very much fits in with the DevOps model. So this is what we mean by DevOps and what it can mean for testing. You may also have heard of CI and CD, which is continuous integration and continuous development. And what that means is it's very much almost like this operation. We can speed things up, we can code in smaller chunks and release in smaller chunks and test in smaller chunks. And it's very much speeding up this process rather than having this traditional sort of develop it, throw it over, operations look at it, if there's any feedback they throw it back. It's very slow. This is about speeding this whole thing up. So I thank you for watching this episode of our Testing Tuesday series where we talked about DevOps. See you next time.